Family of a Florida man after a traffic stop ended with his death. Corey Jones was shot and killed by a Palm Beach Gardens police officer last Sunday. Police officials say a confrontation between Jones and the plainclothes officer escalated. Community members gathered Thursday to demand answers from authorities. Friday, the FBI joined the investigation. More and more attention is being paid to arrests and shootings of African Americans by police officers. The New York Times today reports that black drivers face disproportionate risks of being stopped and arrested while driving. Sharon Lafreniere is one of the reporters on this Times investigation, which focused on Greensboro, North Carolina. Sharon, with a big welcome to you, I want to talk about you and your team, which examined thousands of traffic stops in Greensboro. So, in short, what did you find?
Well, we really examined about 40 million traffic stops in 7 states, and everywhere we found that blacks were more likely to be pulled over than whites, which in itself doesn't prove that much because blacks may be poorer and less likely to, and more likely to have regulatory or equipment problems. But when we looked at 4 states where there was data on searches, we found everywhere that blacks were more likely to be searched than white motorists, even though they were less likely to have contraband. And in Greensboro, digging deeper, we found that blacks were more likely to be pulled over than whites for no discernible reason, and officers were more likely to use force. Even in cases when they didn't encounter resistance.
And in Greensboro specifically, 41% of the population there being African American. I'm looking at your article. It says that specifically, to your last point, 4 times as many as blacks as whites are arrested on the assault charges of resisting or obstructing or delaying an officer. That's an offense that's so borderline that some North Carolina police chiefs say, hey, don't do this, don't use this unless there's a more serious crime involved.
Right. The Fayetteville police chief said he instructs his officers to find some way to move the motorist down the road and not bring that charge at all. And there also was a disparity in the marijuana charges. Less than half an ounce of marijuana, you're not arrested, but nonetheless, you know, it does have consequences. You have it on your criminal record, and blacks were 5 times more likely to face that charge, and only that charge, which part of the reason is likely a higher rate of searches.
So, as you mentioned, this goes beyond Greensboro, certainly, across 4 states in one level and into 7. The DOJ has chosen 6 cities to participate in a federal program which is aimed at reducing bias, trying to improve the ties between law enforcement and African Americans. The DOJ also released its report on the widespread bias in Ferguson, Missouri. Are we seeing, Sharon, any changes in attitudes as these programs move forward?
Well, I think society is really searching for police strategies that will result in people of color not feeling harassed and profiled and targeted, and yet criminals of any color and ethnicity will still be afraid of the police, and it's trying to find that medium that is so difficult.
The report, when you talk about the 7 states with the most sweeping requirements, that police officers are more likely to pull over black drivers than white drivers, you also say that by itself, that is not proof of bias. At what point does that change?
I mean, I think that the hit rates of searches is the most sort of dramatic finding, and the one that when police chiefs learn of it, sometimes they're kind of gobsmacked. Like, why are you searching blacks at twice the rate as whites when you're finding contraband more often with whites? And you know, actually, hats off to North Carolina for collecting the data. It's probably the states that don't collect the data at all where the problem is bigger. And Greensboro is actually just typical of North Carolina as a whole.
One report shows that half of all black males have been arrested by the age of 23. Did your reporting find any targeting on age itself? And I need this just in about 10-15 seconds.
Right, we actually didn't zero in on age.
Okay. You gave it to me in less than 10 or 15 seconds, Sharon. Thank you very much.
These crackers don't like you niggas.
And we'll see you again.